Lena gently pressed her own palm against the back of her client, using a few fingers to stroke in a way that would help the person feel more at ease. This was the only job she had, but even then, it still wasn't enough to meet the needs of her ailing grandmother. At times, she felt a pang of jealousy toward her coworkers who made big money after their shifts. Sometimes, when clients barely tipped enough to buy a coffee, Lena couldn't help but feel invisible, like she was part of the furniture, not a person. She let out a sigh and finished the massage. She noticed the client's smile once it was over, and he handed her a tip before leaving. She hoped he'd come back. Lena glanced over at her coworker Casey, who was also resting in the staff lounge. It was their break time since no clients were currently scheduled. Casey said with a laugh, "Wow, that extra service of mine was great." Lena nearly furrowed her brow. "What extra service are you talking about?" Casey was one of the massage therapists who always carried herself with a bright smile, and she always seemed to have extra cash. Lena couldn't help but feel curious, especially since she badly needed money. Casey smirked and stepped closer. The place where Lena worked wasn't like other massage spots nearby. Generally, wealthier people came here. It was a somewhat hidden establishment, and though Lena felt a little nervous about that, it paid just enough, not like other places where employees were exploited. Casey grinned. "You know, aside from the massage," she whispered, "like kissing the client, touching him, giving him some heat, for a big fee." Lena's skin crawled at the suggestion because she knew exactly what Casey meant. "You do that?" she asked. "Yes." "Got a problem?" Casey arched a brow. "If you need money and don't act, nothing's going to change. These rich guys throw around tons of cash just to get what they want. If it feels good, they're willing to pay thousands for an extra service. And besides, nobody's going to stop you here. Each room is just you and the client, so you can do a lot." Lena stayed silent. "Why don't you try it?" Casey asked, giving her a once-over. "You're beautiful. No need to be shy in this job. Offer extra service to your clients. Nobody's going to judge you here, because I'm not the only one doing it. Almost everyone is. You might be the only one who doesn't know." Lena thought about what Casey said, especially since she desperately needed money. Her grandma Joyce had severe kidney problems and was Lena's only remaining family. Lena had no real means to help her quickly because she lacked the funds. She understood why people like Casey did it. Everyone had their own battles, and that's how Casey made more money. When Lena got home, she brought the expensive medication her grandma needed for the day. Her paycheck barely covered that and their food. She found Grandma Joyce sitting in the living room, clearly in pain. Lena hurried to her side and held her by the shoulders. "Where does it hurt?" Grandma Joyce shook her head. Her lips were pale. "I'm okay, Lena. Don't worry." "No, Grandma Joyce, I really will worry," Lena insisted. She helped her grandma stand so they could go to the bedroom. "I have your medicine here, the one the doctor prescribed." Grandma Joyce said, "You know your life won't move forward if you keep putting me first. You could have used your salary to buy what you want, or maybe go to college." Lena refused to listen. She sat her grandmother on the bed and stepped out briefly to get some water. When she returned, Grandma Joyce was already lying down. "Grandma Joyce, please have mercy on me," Lena said softly, sitting at the edge of the bed. "I choose to endure hardship because I want you to keep living." Her grandma looked at her, tears forming in her eyes. Lena tried not to cry herself, knowing she had to stay strong. If it weren't for Grandma Joyce, she wouldn't even have a home, despite not being related by blood. Her grandma still took her in. Grandma Joyce's relatives never liked Lena, but that never stopped her from being kind. Now that she was sick, her relatives had turned their backs on her, blaming karma for letting Lena live with them. Lena felt enraged at those people who once clung to her grandmother when she was healthy, like she had money to give away. Lena realized some people only stay around if you have something to offer. Once you have nothing, they leave. No matter what happened, Lena wouldn't let Grandma Joyce down. "Get some rest, Grandma Joyce. Don't worry about me." Lena forced a small smile and gave her the medicine. After her grandma took it, Lena kissed her forehead. Before leaving the room, she took a deep breath and wiped away a tear that escaped. Her shift started at 6 p.m. because that was when clients began to pour in. Tonight felt a bit different because the boss was actually on site and in a good mood. She likely had some important clients coming. Do a good job with your services, the boss reminded them. Everyone gathered in one spot so the boss could warn them to be excellent. Our place's reputation depends on it, she added. Some wealthy young men are coming here for massages. They're billionaires and single, so pay attention and do everything to make them like this place. Understood? Casey grinned, seeming excited about the news. Of course, ma'am, I'll make sure they leave this place with a smile, she said. Lena swallowed. Their boss seemed pleased. They'll be here soon. Each one of you will be assigned one of them. 3, she said before heading off. Lena's coworkers started chatting about the services they planned to offer. Lena noticed some of them prettifying themselves more than usual. One came over and said, "Do what they do. Maybe you can solve your money problem." She patted Lena on the shoulder as she walked past. Lena took a deep breath, deciding she wouldn't offer any extra services. She gathered her materials for the massage and waited near the entrance for the arrivals. When the 5 young men entered, Lena saw how overjoyed her boss was to greet them, but she kept herself busy preparing supplies in the room. She silently hoped that whichever client she got would be generous with tips. The door to the room suddenly opened, and the boss walked in with a tall man. "Lena, your client is here," the boss said. "Make sure to satisfy him with your service, okay?" Lena nodded. "Yes, ma'am." The boss let the tall man enter, and Lena almost swallowed hard because of the aura he radiated. He was handsome, with a sun-kissed complexion and a pleasant scent. As soon as the door closed, Lena stepped back to give him space. She politely told him what to do first, which he followed, though she felt a little uneasy under his gaze. She managed, though. Once he lay on his stomach, a white towel covering the lower part of his body, Lena began her work. The moment her palm pressed against his skin, a jolt ran through her. She didn't understand why. Out of all her clients, it was this man who made her feel that way. He let out a soft groan as she applied pressure with her fingers and kneaded parts of his back. "So good," he murmured. Lena gulped and forced herself to focus. Thankfully, she managed until she finished, then packed her things. The man propped himself up on his elbows and looked at her. "I thought there were other services besides massage," he said, making her pause. She turned to face him, eyes wide. He arched a brow. "I don't offer that, sir," she said politely. "My job here is to give massages." "Ah," he said. "So the rumors I heard were fake." He got up from the bed, and Lena looked away. "I thought there was more to do here," Lena explained quietly. "There is, sir, but not with me. Maybe with some of the other therapists." He asked, "How about you give me your extra service? I'll pay." Her eyes went wide, leaving her speechless. He patted the mattress. She gulped again, because he didn't seem to be joking. What kind of service do you want?" she managed to say. "I want a kiss," he stated, glancing at her mouth. Lena stepped back when he rose from the bed and pulled out some bills from his bag. He placed them on the side table. "That will be my payment. Now give me my kiss." He stepped closer and grabbed her arm, guiding her nearer. "Are you going to take that money for a kiss?" She immediately thought of Grandma Joyce and how she might not even get a tip if she turned him down. It was just once. She was sure this man wouldn't return. A quiet voice in her mind told her not to do it, but she silenced it quickly, the weight of survival louder than pride. She decided to give in. Lena held his shoulders and stood on her tiptoes to kiss him on the lips. She assumed that would be it, but her eyes went wide when he pulled her closer, returning her kiss. The sudden contact of his tongue in her mouth made Lena dizzy, and she squeezed her eyes shut. After a few seconds, they broke apart, and Lena was left speechless. He licked his lips and gazed at her in a sultry way. "Nice service," he smirked, gathered his things, got dressed, and left. Lena sank onto the nearest chair, stunned at what had happened. Then she glanced over at the money on the side table. She picked it up and was shocked to see it was $20,000. "That's way too much," she muttered. Lena quickly ran out of the room, hoping to catch up with the man, but he was already gone. "Nice job, girls. Our guest loved all your services," their boss announced happily, striding in. Lena saw Casey's grin. apparently having given extra service, evident from the glistening mark on her neck, as if it had been licked. Lena winced and looked away, never learning that man's name. She tried not to dwell on what she'd done, but now she had the money to buy Grandma Joyce's meds. When her grandma asked where Lena got the funds, she always gave a believable excuse. She told herself the lie enough times that she almost believed it, because the truth, if spoken aloud, might shatter her completely. Lena's heart raced as he laced his fingers with hers. "These hands," he said, "should only be touching my body." She didn't even know how she agreed, but she found herself picking up the $50,000 on the side table and nodding. Yet nothing outrageous happened in that room. He didn't even touch her intimately. He only asked her a lot of questions, which she answered, all the while thinking about Grandma Joyce who needed treatment. She learned his name. Jackson Reed, 27, a businessman. She understood exactly what he wanted from her, and in return, he offered to help her grandmother. He would pay for Grandma Joyce's hospital stay and kidney surgery in exchange for Lena's service. "Oh," Lena cried out hours later in Jackson's bedroom as he thrust into her from behind. She clung to the bed's headboard, her knees sinking into the plush mattress. He held her waist, repeatedly driving into her. This had become her life in exchange for Grandma Joyce's life. Lena eventually quit her other jobs. Jackson made her his exclusive therapist. But after a session like this, sometimes Lena just wanted to push him away, not because she hated it, but because the arrangement felt complicated. Still, once they were done, he'd often ask how Grandma Joyce was doing, and Lena would update him on the upcoming surgery. She'd sit curled up on the bed afterward, hugging her knees. "She's okay," Lena would say softly. "Her operation is close now. There's a donor." She'd watch him stretch and then approach him to offer a massage. Sometimes he misunderstood her, thinking she wanted another round, and it made her blush when she explained she just wanted to massage him. He'd sigh and let her. While Lena's hands pressed on his shoulders, she'd quietly whisper, "Jackson, thank you." He'd ask, "Why?" And she'd answer, "Because you helped Grandma Joyce. Without you, she wouldn't have gotten a new kidney and I'd lose her." Jackson would say, "That wasn't help. You worked for it. You gave yourself to me. That's not help." Lena would reply, "I know, but I still want to thank you. My grandma means everything to me." 2 months into their arrangement, Lena realized she had feelings for him. She never said it though, since she knew he only wanted her body, and she didn't want to get hurt. When Grandma Joyce's surgery came, it was a success. Lena cried with relief. Suddenly, her grandmother had a second chance at life. Lena thanked God, and of course, Jackson. She wanted to thank him in person, but he was out of the country for a month on business. She decided to wait until he returned and had free time. Grandma Joyce was still recovering in the hospital, so Lena used the remaining funds to buy her new clothes. In the middle of shopping, someone grabbed Lena's hair from behind. She dropped the clothes in her hands. "Ow!" Lena cried out. Onlookers gasped. Before Lena could react, the woman yanked her hair so hard that Lena felt a sharp pain. Then came a hard slap, making Lena's tears fall. She saw a pretty but furious woman. A second later, an older lady rushed to hold the raging girl back. "Who are you? Why did you do that?" "Did I do something wrong?" Lena asked, her voice trembling. "You did!" screamed the young woman, still struggling in the older lady's grip. A security guard stepped in to help. "You're Jackson's mistress. That's why our wedding can't move forward." Lena's jaw dropped. "Huh?" The older lady turned out to be Jackson's mother. Lena couldn't speak. She had no idea Jackson was engaged. He had told her there was no such relationship, that it was just them. Lena tried to defend herself, but the young woman broke free and scratched her forearm so viciously that it bled. Guards pulled her away as Lena rushed out of the store and burst into tears in the restroom. She had believed Jackson when he'd said there was nobody else. He had apparently lied. She felt devastated, even though she knew she had no right to be. After all, they had never labeled what they had. The truth was, she'd fallen for him. But of course, he would end up returning to his real fiancée. Lena ignored Jackson's calls and texts. Back at the hospital, she put on a brave face for Grandma Joyce, who was so happy about her recovery. Lena told herself she had no right to be angry at Jackson. He paid her. She was just a body for him. Even so, Lena's chest felt tight. Early one morning, Lena jolted awake, feeling nauseous. She ran straight to the bathroom and threw up. Tears pricked her eyes as she got it all out. Grandma Joyce found her afterward, alarmed. "Why are you throwing up?" Lena shook her head, saying nothing. "Are you pregnant?" Grandma Joyce asked, grabbing Lena's shoulders. Lena's eyes went wide, freezing on the spot. "You are pregnant, aren't you?" Grandma Joyce insisted. "Do you have a boyfriend, or have you done something?" "I'm not pregnant, Grandma," Lena insisted, forcing a laugh. "Why would I be pregnant? I don't have a boyfriend," she said, turning away and hurrying to the kitchen. She blamed it on spoiled food she'd supposedly eaten the night before. But deep down, she was terrified. It was indeed possible, since Jackson had never been careful. That night, Lena tried calling Jackson to tell him her situation. By then, she had already bought a pregnancy test and confirmed she was expecting. But he didn't answer. Later, he finally texted her around 9. "Come here. I miss you." His message read. Lena's heartbeat quickened. Grandma Joyce was asleep, so she slipped out without telling her. She took the elevator up to Jackson's unit, feeling an odd excitement despite her fears. Maybe she hoped he'd be happy, or at least supportive. She let herself in with the spare key he'd given her, noticing his luggage from abroad. She headed for his bedroom door, ready to knock, when it opened. A woman emerged, hair disheveled, wearing nothing. Lena froze like a statue. The woman looked up, recognized Lena, and scowled. "I knew it. You're that woman of Jackson's," she said icily, stepping into the hallway. "Where's Jackson?" "He told me to come here," Lena said, her voice shaking. "He's asleep," the woman replied, flipping her hair. "He's my fiancé, and we weren't exactly finished before you showed up." Lena felt her whole body grow cold. "He asked me to come. I have something important to tell him," she insisted. The woman glared. "You have no right to be here." She grabbed Lena's hair and dragged her out. Lena didn't fight back. She had no right. Jackson belonged to someone else. "I told you, leave," the woman snarled, pushing Lena away. She spotted Lena's condo key in her hand and snatched it. "This is mine. Get out. If you don't want your life ruined, Jackson is mine and we're getting married." The door slammed in Lena's face. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her hand trembling as she checked her phone. Jackson had just sent a text. "I'm sorry. I'm getting married to Alexandra. Let's stop this, Lena." Lena broke down, stumbling into the elevator and running out of the building. She felt shattered, though she kept reminding herself. She had no right to be hurt. They had never been in a real relationship. This was just a transaction, so she could save Grandma Joyce. But her heart still ached. Returning home, she saw Grandma Joyce outside, looking worried. Lena ran to her and burst into tears. "I'm pregnant, Grandma," Lena sobbed. "Let's leave this place. I can't take it anymore." Grandma Joyce whispered soothing words, holding Lena close. "All right, let's go. Don't cry. You're pregnant." Lena clung to her grandmother. "Yes, and Jackson's getting married. There's nothing for me here." Grandma Joyce just hugged her tighter, promising they would leave soon. Meanwhile, Jackson woke up in bed with a throbbing headache. He'd flown in late from Singapore. The night before, he'd come back earlier than planned because Lena had stopped answering his calls, and he was worried about her. He rose, stretched, and went to the bedroom door, expecting to see Lena cooking in the kitchen. He had even bought a ring in Singapore, ready to propose. He couldn't explain it well, but he no longer wanted her just for physical pleasure. He wanted to be with her. Yet, as soon as he entered the kitchen, he was stunned to find Alexandra there, wearing only lingerie. His expression darkened. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. She turned off the stove and came toward him with a teasing smile. "I'm here because you're my fiancé, Jackson." He had no memory of letting her in. He marched to the bedroom to grab his phone, and she trailed behind him. "Why won't you marry me?" "It's what your parents want," she reasoned, tears pricking her eyes. Jackson ignored her. He looked through his phone and saw multiple missed calls from Lena, and a message that wasn't from him at all. He spun around to glare at Alexandra. "Who sent this text?" "I didn't send it," Alexandra, now pale, said. "I did. I just wanted that woman out of your life." His rage boiled over. "You messed with my phone?" "Yes, because I know you won't take responsibility for that girl. In the end, you'll do what your parents say anyway," she snapped, her voice rising. Jackson hurled his phone at the wall, shattering it. "Jackson!" Alexandra shrieked. Don't think for a second I'll just marry you because my parents say so, Jackson spat. You're mistaken if you think they control my life. He stormed out to grab his car keys, determined to find Lena, terrified of what damage Alexandra's lie might have caused. Lena needed to speak with Jackson properly, so they could clarify whatever was between them. Now that her grandmother was okay, maybe they could make this whole thing real. When Jackson arrived at Lena's neighborhood, he parked his car on the side of the street and got out. A few neighbors started whispering at the sight of him. Lena, he called from outside her house. He had never been there before when everyone was around, but he didn't care. He was there for a reason. A middle-aged woman stepped closer. Young man, who are you looking for? Are you Lena's boyfriend? Yes, I'm her boyfriend, he replied. Oh, you're a handsome young man, and you look wealthy. But Lena left with her grandmother, the woman explained. Jackson's heartbeat pounded harder. She left? Where did they go? We don't know. All we saw was that they were carrying a lot of bags early. That morning, the neighbor said it looked like they might not come back. Jackson wanted to curse. He tried calling her on his new phone, but Lena was unreachable. Damn it, he muttered, running a hand over his forehead. Anger flared in him, and he slammed his palm against the hood of his car before getting back in. I won't accept this. I'll find you, Lena. You'll come back to me. 7 years passed. It had been difficult for Lena during those 7 years, but she managed to support her children who completely changed her life. Yes, 7 years had gone by since she left that place and never returned. She wanted a peaceful life, and Jackson was probably married by then, possibly with a family of his own. Lena had a son and a daughter, twins, who both looked just like him. As much as she wanted to move on, she just couldn't forget him, because those children were her constant reminder of Jackson. She worked as a massage therapist now, but it was different from her old job. This time, everything was legal and respectable at a nearby resort. She worked the night shift so she could focus on her kids during the day. That morning, Lena was in the kitchen mixing milk for them when she heard arguing in the living room. Give me my egg. It's mine. Why are you grabbing it from me? You already have one. Lena recognized the voices of her twins, Nina and Eli. Rhea, give that to Zeke. I'll make you another one, she called out, then walked over to them. Both had boiled eggs, one each, yet they were still fighting over one egg. Nina looked upset, but reluctantly handed the egg to Eli. Lena sighed. Stop fighting. You both have school later and I'm dropping you off. Finish your breakfast. Eli said, Mom, can we go somewhere fun next time? And can I get a Spider-Man pencil case? Mine's falling apart. Nina chimed in. Me too, Mom. I want a new dress and some pretty hair clips so I can look nice at school. Lena answered, Fine. If you both do really well on your exams, I'll buy those. We can even go out. Really, Mom? Both children shouted in excitement and ate more quickly. Lena just smiled and then prepared their lunch bags. Soon, Lena took them to school, along with Grandma Joyce, who insisted on watching the kids in their classroom. The twins were in first grade and full of energy. Lena was once summoned by the teacher because Nina acted a little rough toward other kids. Nina tried to stand up for Eli whenever she thought he was in trouble. Meanwhile, Eli was gentler. Grandma Joyce, Lena said, please just text me if there's any problem, okay? I need to get to the resort. They said some guests are arriving, so they want me there. She kissed each child on the forehead before they headed inside the school gate. She watched them until they disappeared into their classrooms. Grandma Joyce went after them, and Lena, feeling more at ease, left for work. At the resort, Lena spotted a coworker, Mia, who gave her a sleepy wave. Mia, Lena greeted with a smile. Good, you're also here. Mia yawned. Yeah, I'm not used to both daytime and nighttime shifts, but I heard there are a lot of guests, so maybe that means more tips. Lena just laughed and went to their work area. One married couple came in and asked for a massage, and Lena did a good job. They left her a generous tip. She liked her current job. Despite sometimes feeling exhausted, hearing positive feedback from clients always made the tiredness vanish. Late in the afternoon, a new guest arrived. Lena got ready and looked up at the man. Sir, may I? She couldn't finish her sentence. She turned cold and fell silent at the sight of him. Miss Lena, he said in a low voice, jaw tight. Nice to see you again. She swallowed hard, regaining her composure. She cleared her throat and looked away. "Shall we begin?" she said. She started the massage, but every time her palms made contact with his body, her breath turned shaky. 7 years without seeing him. Yet here they were. He must have been one of the important guests staying at the resort for an event. When Lena finished, she packed up her supplies and spoke formally. "All done, sir." She hoped that would be the last time she had to see him, because the tension made it difficult for her to function. "Where's your extra service?" he asked. Her eyes widened and she looked at him in disbelief. He was staring right back. He placed a wad of money on a small table. The sight of those bills felt like déjà vu. She mustered up the courage to say, "There's no extra service here, sir," and turned to leave. He spoke again. "Why did you leave 7 years?" A painful pang hit her chest. She turned back to him. His gaze was intense and unwavering. "Sir, you know why," she said. "Because it was only ever about my grandma's treatment, in exchange for my service to you. And besides, you had a fiancé back then. I didn't want that kind of trouble." She left him there, ignoring the way her heart twisted. It was easier to act cold than to admit how much she'd wanted more from him back then, how much she feared wanting it again. That wasn't the last time she saw him, though. Every day of her shift, Jackson would show up for a massage. If Lena passed the resort's restaurant, she'd catch him eating alone. She wondered why his wife wasn't with him. Still, she tried to push him out of her mind so she could concentrate. Yet it was impossible to focus when night after night he'd booked her specifically. She had no choice but to comply. Part of her could have requested a reassignment, but she didn't. Maybe she was afraid of what would happen if they really talked. If she had to face the truth of what she still felt. One evening, Lena finally asked sarcastically while massaging him, "Sir, does your body ache every single day? I think you qualify for a frequent massage card. You know, maybe you can bring your wife next time, then I can massage both of you." She rolled her eyes slightly, trying to control her frustration. He replied, "My wife is missing me right now." She froze. "Huh? I don't have a wife, Lena," he said. Lena stepped back when he sat up on the bed. Her jaw dropped as the towel that had been covering him slipped, exposing his backside. Quickly, she turned around so she wouldn't see. "What are you doing, sir? We're not finished." He exhaled behind her, then wrapped the towel around his waist and surprised her by hugging her from behind, breathing in her scent. "We're not finished at all," he murmured against her ear. She gasped when he kissed her ear, desperate to get away. She kicked backwards so he'd release her. Once free, she whirled around, and he was now holding the towel in place. "I didn't leave you, sir," she said. "I simply ended my job with you. Now please leave me alone. My life is peaceful." Lena was relieved that the next day she had no shift. She doubted Jackson would stay at the resort forever, so she tried to calm herself. He hadn't searched for her in 7 years, so she struggled to believe anything he said. It was safer to assume he was lying. It hurt less than risking hope. He'd probably married that Alexandra woman after all. Alexandra wouldn't have caused a scene back then if she didn't intend to marry him. When Lena's day off arrived, she took her children and Grandma Joyce out, just as she'd promised them. They went to a big mall. Eli frowned. "I don't want the bumblebee place. I want the place with the clown. It's delicious there." "Mom," Nina complained. "That place is ugly, Eli. I want the bumblebee place." Eli stomped his foot. "Mom, let's go to the clown place. Their fries are the best." Lena sighed. "Stop, both of you. We'll decide where to eat later, okay? You both aced your exams, so we'll get what you want. But let's talk about it calmly." The twins cheered and ran from one aisle to another. Grandma Joyce smiled at Lena. Lena smiled back, relieved. The kids were happy. Even if she constantly worried about money, the twins at least knew they couldn't buy too much. Still, she hated how often they pulled her in opposite directions. Some days, it made her feel like a worn-out rope. "Mom?" Nina pointed to a display. "I want this pink dress with the Barbie design." Lena let go of her daughter's hand and grabbed the dress on the hanger. She gave it to Nina, who lit up with excitement. "Mom, this looks like it'll fit me. I also want hair clips so I can be pretty at school." Eli suddenly tugged on Lena's arm and made her lose her grip on the dress. "Hey, Mom, I want that too." He pointed to a mannequin wearing novelty underwear. Lena nearly choked. "Son, that's not your size." "I want SpongeBob boxers and a Spider-Man design, Mom." Eli insisted. Okay, we'll see, Lena said, trying not to snap. She took a breath, forcing down the instinct to tell them both no, just to keep peace. Just then, Nina pulled Lena back to the dress area. Mom, don't go with Eli yet. Help me pick hair clips with crowns on them so I can look like a princess. Meanwhile, Eli stomped his foot. Mom, my SpongeBob boxers. He tried to drag her away again. Other shoppers glanced at them. Lena was so embarrassed she almost wished she could split herself in two so she could help them both at the same time. At last, Lena had each child select their items without her hovering, so they'd stop fighting for her attention. They were both overjoyed to pick out what they wanted, as if they were super rich. Lena knew she'd be broke by the end of the day. Grandma Joyce whispered, "Pooh, having twins is exhausting. They're so lively." Lena laughed softly. "Yes, Grandma, but it's okay. When they grow up, I'm sure I'll miss how energetic they are." Grandma Joyce's tone grew more serious. "Don't you ever plan on telling the father about them, Lena?" Lena froze. The memory of Jackson came rushing back. He was back. He was here somewhere. Fear twisted in her stomach at the thought of seeing him again. She told herself he wouldn't stay in the city long. Lena forced a smile. "It's better this way. If I told him I was pregnant back then, maybe he would have claimed them. Or maybe not. Either way, it's better that my kids and I have lived peacefully all these years." That's what she told herself whenever guilt threatened to creep in. She hadn't lied, she'd just chosen not to tell the truth. Grandma Joyce fell silent. Soon, Nina finished her shopping and came over to show Lena what she got. "Mom, can I add something else?" the little girl asked. "I know we don't have a lot of money, but..." Lena's chest ached, feeling guilty, because she knew if Jackson were here, money wouldn't be an issue. But she hid her feelings. "We'll save up for it next time, okay?" Nina nodded. Grandma Joyce took her to pay at the counter. Lena said, "I'll go find Eli. He's taking forever." Lena headed back to where she'd last seen Eli, but he wasn't there. Panic rushed through her. Eli. She looked around wildly, unable to see him. Her heart pounded. She was about to call a security guard for help when she spotted Eli a short distance away, holding a Spider-Man pencil case. He was talking to someone. "Eli," Lena said breathlessly, running up to him. Relief washed over her and tears nearly formed in her eyes. "Thank God, don't run off like that. You scared me." She grabbed his hand, but he didn't budge. Eli pointed at the person he'd been talking to. Lena followed his gaze and froze. Standing there was Jackson. And he wasn't alone. His mother was beside him. Jackson's expression revealed shock at the sight of Lena and the boy. His mother let out an audible gasp. "Oh my goodness," his mother whispered to him. "That little boy is the spitting image of you at that age." Lena could only stand there, speechless. "Who, Mom?" Eli asked suddenly, turning to Lena. Lena's mind spun. It felt like the world paused on that question. The boy was obviously referring to her as Mom, but with that slip of words, he'd basically implied who Jackson might be. Before Lena could speak, another's voice cut through the air. "Mom, I'm done." It was her daughter, Nina, arriving hand in hand with Grandma Joyce. The second the girl saw Jackson, she stopped and blinked. Jackson's mother gasped again. "The girl is like the female version of you, Jackson." She grabbed Jackson's arm excitedly. Jackson's eyes shifted between the twins, his emotions jumbled into confusion and a sudden surge of realization. Lena felt cornered. She quickly said, "Thank you for noticing. My child was wondering, we'll be going now." She gently pulled Eli away from Jackson and walked off, Nina close by, Grandma Joyce bringing up the rear. Lena never looked back. Jackson stood frozen in place, watching them leave. His mother tugged on his sleeve. "Son, that woman, she's the one Alexandra attacked in the mall years ago, isn't she? I was there. I couldn't stop Alexandra when she lost control. And those kids, they look so much like you." Jackson tightened his jaw. "Did I get her pregnant? Did she hide my kids from me?" His mother turned to him. "I'm thinking the same thing." Jackson's frustration boiled over. "Lena, not only did you leave me, you took my children as well," he muttered under his breath. His mother's eyes went wide. "So she's the one you love? The one you refused to marry Alexandra for?" "Yes," Jackson admitted. "We never had a formal label, but I was serious about her. She vanished because she thought I was engaged and that she was just some other woman in my life." "What are you waiting for? his mother pressed. Go after them. If they're really your children, we can't let them slip away. Jackson's chest felt tight. I'm not only taking back my children, he said. I'm taking her back too. Lena couldn't sit still when she got home. Her children were thrilled about the day's shopping, but she felt uneasy. She never expected Jackson to see Eli and Nina, and the shocked look on his face was burned into her mind. She was sure he would come for answers. Her chest clenched at the thought of him showing up. But he didn't know her current address. So maybe he couldn't find her, or maybe he simply didn't care anymore. She told herself it was better this way. Pretending she was safe from the truth felt easier than facing it. A week went by with no sign of him. Slowly, Lena relaxed. Kids, I'm heading out for my shift, she announced one morning after dropping them off at school. As usual, Grandma Joyce stayed to watch them. Lena's coworker Mia greeted her at the resort with a playful elbow nudge. You vanished for a week, Lena. I didn't know you had kids. Don't worry, you don't look like it, she teased. Is everything okay? Were your kids sick? Lena swallowed. No, nothing serious. Just some family stuff. In truth, she had missed a week of work, worried Jackson would appear. But since nothing happened, Lena assumed he must have left town. She finished her daytime shift happily and brought home takeout food for dinner. I'm back, she called, entering her house and placing a bag of food on the dining table. Eli? Nina? She checked the kitchen, but nobody was there. Grandma Joyce? Still no answer. She frowned, wondering if they were delayed. She grabbed her phone to call Grandma Joyce, but the sudden click of the door locking startled her. She turned and gasped. Jackson stood there, locking the front door behind him. He walked toward her with a calm determination that made her heart race. She tensed up. Jackson, what are you doing here? He didn't let her pass. He seized her arm and pulled her close. Lena was shocked. Where are my kids? She demanded, fear rising. Jackson smirked slightly. They're fine, Lena. Don't worry, he said. I picked them up. They're with me, where they belong. Her blood ran cold. What right do you have to take them? Let me go. She struggled against him, tears threatening to spill. They're my kids. They are not just your kids, he replied. She shouted, eyes burning. They are not your kids. His expression hardened. Don't lie, they're obviously mine. So what if they are, she cried. You're already married, aren't you? Yes, maybe the twins are yours, but you can't take them from me. He gave her a frustrated glare. I don't have a wife, he said through clenched teeth. I told you that. Why do you still refuse to believe me? You liar, she yelled, yanking her arm free. For a moment, you had a fiancée, Alexandra. I saw her come out of your bedroom. I saw with my own eyes, so don't deny it. He groaned in exasperation. I was asleep. I didn't know she showed up that night, he insisted. Nothing happened between us, and I never married her. She's been out of the country for years. Lena's tears finally flowed. I went to your condo that night to tell you I was pregnant, but she was there. She basically threw me out, told me you two were engaged, so I never came back. Jackson locked eyes with her. That's the truth, Lena. I'm single. I never married anyone. You ran away from me. Twice. Why would I chase after you if I thought you'd just leave again? His voice softened. But now I know we share children, so I can't just walk away. She fell silent, overwhelmed, and he said, I'm taking them, Lena. She panicked. No. He lowered his voice, leaning closer. Don't worry, I'm not just taking the kids, I'm taking you too. He lifted her chin gently, his face inches from hers. He pressed his lips to hers in a fierce kiss. In the midst of that, Lena felt a sudden prick in her shoulder. She gasped in shock, pulling away just enough to see him holding a small syringe. Her vision blurred as her strength drained. His face was the last thing she saw. He wore a confident grin before she passed out in his arms. Lena woke to a burst of noise. She blinked at an unfamiliar ceiling with a fancy design. She felt the bed moving under her. She heard giggles and the thumping of a little Mom! Mom! She shot upright and saw her twins happily jumping on the mattress. They squealed and rushed over to hug her. Mom, you're finally awake, Nina said, hugging Lena's neck. Eli grinned. Dad said we'd be living here now, Mom. He bought me so many new toys. Lena's heart raced. What? She pulled them both into her arms, tears forming. She thought she had lost them. Mom, are you crying? Nina asked, touching her face. Lena quickly wiped her tears and held them close. I'm okay, sweeties. While she was hugging them, she noticed someone leaning against the doorway, watching. She looked up and saw Jackson. Fear crept back in, and she instinctively tightened her hold on her kids. Jackson walked in with his hands raised slightly, as if in surrender. "Lena," he said, "I'm not taking them away from you." She looked around, confused. "Then, where are we? Why did I lose consciousness? What did you do?" "Mom, don't fight with Dad," Nina piped up. "He's nice," she insisted. Eli added, "We finally have a dad, Mom." Lena glanced at Jackson in disbelief. He said softly, "I told you, I didn't do anything that would hurt you. Didn't you want to be a family? And anyway, take a look at your left hand." Lena looked down and noticed a sparkling ring on her finger. "Why do I have a ring?" Jackson smiled. "I bought that a long time ago, during my trip to Singapore. Remember when I left the country before? That's when I picked it out. You never gave me a chance to give it to you." She shook her head, voice quivering. "You think I want to be your mistress now that you know about the kids?" "Mom, what's a mistress?" Nina asked innocently, making Lena gasp at her slip of the tongue. Grandma Joyce walked in, quickly reading the awkward tension. Kids, let's go check out the backyard. I heard there's a big swimming pool." She ushered the twins out so Lena and Jackson could talk alone. Jackson moved closer and took Lena's hand. She swallowed, feeling that old, familiar panic and longing all at once. "Lena," he began, "we have children. Don't tell me you're still planning to run away. You know I'm not married. I never married Alexandra. She's gone, living abroad." She stared at the ring on her finger. "I don't understand. You never came after me for 7 years. I knew where you worked, at that spa, and later that resort, but I had no idea you had kids. I kept my distance, afraid you'd just leave if I confronted you. Now that I know, I'm not backing down." She didn't answer. Jackson squeezed her hand, his voice firm. "I'm taking my kids, and I'm taking you with me." He saw the flash of fear in her eyes. "Not by force. We'll do this right, Lena. Listen." He tilted her chin up. "Will you marry me? Not for the sake of the kids, but because you love me?" Her eyes welled with tears. She couldn't escape the truth anymore. She'd never stopped loving him. He placed her hand over his chest. "Do you feel that, Lena? My heart pounding? I've loved you for a long time. Yes, our beginning was messy, but we can end it in a good way." Lena felt her own heart thundering. She finally admitted, "Jackson, I love you too. I always have. Even when we didn't have a real relationship, I fell in love with you, and it never went away, until now." Jackson's eyes gleamed with relief. He leaned in and captured her lips in a kiss that spoke of pent-up longing. She kissed him back, letting him lower her onto the bed without breaking contact. When he moved his lips down her neck, he whispered, "I missed you so much." He was about to kiss her again when the door suddenly burst open. They froze. Grandma Joyce gawked at their position, the twins peeking in around her. "Mom, why is Dad on top of you?" Nina asked loudly, confusion on her small face. Grandma Joyce shooed them back. "Let's go see the pool, kids. They might be busy, making a new baby. No disturbing them." She closed the door. Lena's cheeks flamed red. She tried to push Jackson away, but he continued kissing her. "Let's have a comeback moment, Lena," he murmured. "I miss your touch." Despite herself, Lena's own heart gave in. Their life had changed in a single moment. Now they were all together, and the twins accepted him immediately. Jackson introduced Lena and the kids to his entire family, who welcomed them with excitement, especially his mother, overjoyed to finally have grandchildren. Grandma Joyce and Jackson's mother got along well. Lena never imagined her life would turn out this way, but somehow, fate was giving them a second chance to love and be loved. A year later, they all lived under one roof, and Jackson married Lena in a small church ceremony. He had the twins' last names changed, because originally they'd carried Lena's. "Mom, the wedding cake tasted so good," Nina exclaimed one afternoon while they were at a park enjoying a family picnic. "I want a cake like that for my birthday, and I want it to be huge." She clung to Jackson's neck while he laughed. They decided to postpone a honeymoon to spend time doing simple family activities instead. So they were at the park together a week after their wedding. Eli ran across the grass with a toy car trailing behind him on a string he'd attached. Nina chased him, giggling as they swerved around. Lena and Jackson sat on a picnic mat, holding hands and watching their children play. Jackson turned and gazed at Lena. She noticed his smile fading into a thoughtful look. "What is it?" she asked. I'm happy, he said softly. Really happy. Lena's eyes glowed. I know. I'm happy too. You've given me this wonderful life, complete and filled with joy. Jackson grinned. Give me a massage when we get home, he teased, leaning to kiss the back of her hand. I miss your magic touch. Lena teased back. What kind of massage are you asking for? He slid an arm around her. The real thing. A back massage, he chuckled. Lena laughed. I'll do it as soon as we get home. He kissed her cheek, and together they watched the sunset, the park lights twinkling on to brighten the evening.